One. Hello, ladies. This is Admiral Murphy. Wee Wee's not here, but I've got three people with me. And they are. This is the part where you say your names. Or something. There we go. That was a good one. Great audio test. That's going in the books right there.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah. Wee Wee's audio tests are never that good. I'm quite impressed. Wee Wee, you've got competition here. Hello and welcome to Foundry Files. I am Admiral Murphy.
Hey, wait a second.
What?
You got more people here than just you, buddy.
What? I can't rant about Bobo?
Yeah, come on. Some of us Foundry authors are here as well. It's Bazag.
What?
You can't stand in the spotlight all the time, man.
Oh my god. Okay, this is gonna be a problem here. I was promised my own show again since Wee Wee's not here. When he's not here, I get to rant about whatever I want. And if other people are...
I'm afraid not.
You've been denied.
So I can't rant about the T-Rex in Stowe this week? I'm going to have to save that?
We'll give you a 10-second rant.
Okay, it was really stupid, but I laughed when I got like 2 inches from it, and it roared at me and then bit me. There we go. That was my 10-second rant on it. Actually, I did...
As long as you heard the Jurassic Park theme in your head...
Don't worry.
Then you had a good time.
We've had fleet members playing that over our TeamSpeak all week as we run around the zone. It's been quite fun.
Nice.
Beautiful.
I will admit, the Adventure Zone, I'm enjoying it, which I'm quite surprised. The gameplay is actually quite fun. I'm missing the story aspects a bit. I'm kind of glad Rep 1 had it at the end. But I'm enjoying the missions, actually.
As I understand it, there's going to be more as you tier up in the rep system.
I wish there would be missions, though. Like, I know the Romulan stuff did it. This one didn't seem to have a mission, so I'm hoping the later on ones do, but my guess is it's just going to be cutscenes, which it's fine.
Me too. I'll be T2 in a couple of days, so
yeah.
I'll be able to find out.
I think I just finished up one. I spent so much time grinding the one where you have to bring down reinforcements today. That was kind of ridiculous, but that's not Foundry. Why am I rambling about this? Oh yeah, because Season 8 hit. And we all know what happens when a season hits. The Foundry is down for quite a bit. But surprisingly, there's still stuff to talk about in the news, so here's our news. Alright, this is the news for the week. So, surprisingly enough, Foundry missions are going back up a while. In fact, I've got a Foundry author here I know, Mr. Drogan, who already has a mission up already.
Yes, mine appears to be the only spotlight currently up.
I think Part 5 actually just got up, too. I looked earlier.
Yeah,
so that would
mine
be,
came
that
up
would be
today.
relevant time, too. So there's 2 on this call who have missions up, so congrats. I don't know if, Bazag, you got any of your missions up yet. Do you know?
I've got one of each, but neither a spotlight. So I've still got plenty more to.
We were
to go
speculating as to what the order is that they're coming back up in today, and really we got nothing.
I haven't checked to even see if mine got back up, so I have no idea. All I know is when I looked at the search list, there's like a whole bunch of different missions other than the top usual ones, like the spotlights, that I did not recognize. Which is good, because this will bring us into the next segment of Where in the World is Admiral Bobo? I don't know if you guys have sat in, but I've been keeping track of this one mission. And it's nowhere on the search list.
That's a real shame.
I know, right?
I'm so heartbroken.
I looked at that list and it's nowhere there. You can search for it and it's not there, and that hurts because I loved making jokes at this mission, and now it's gone. So Cryptic, if you could put it back. No, I'm just kidding. No, don't put it back.
Unfortunately, Murphy, a few hours ago, Brandflake said that they had temporarily stopped the mission republishing.
That sucks. I'm sad now. Brad dead.
He said your missions are fine, but they're working through an issue with the republishing process, and that's why it's taking longer.
Was there any missions that got republished that you know of that might be broken or anything?
Well, I got an issue in mine, in Purity 6, which you guys played on the last show. One of the reach markers, the marker is still in the same place on the map, but the mini-map indicator is way off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
didn't that happen
back out
before?
these days.
I'm pretty sure that's happened in the past.
It's happened a few times, but it seems to be flaring back up again. But I posted a bug report. Frost is aware of it, and he says he's raised the flag.
All right, so that sounds all right. Yeah, Bobo will probably be back up, though, I feel. But at least now we know that missions are getting republished, even if it is my old adversary, Bobo. But the other cool thing, though, we should definitely talk about real quick is Foundry Tags. They did hit Holodeck, and I got a chance to look at them earlier today. And I'm actually quite interested to see how this works, because you get a huge variety of tags here. And they cover a lot of the missions I'd hope to have tags for. I don't know if there's any tags you guys think are missing. Is there any that you thought were missing that should be added?
I haven't really had a chance to look at them.
Maybe like comedy.
Yeah, comedy I could see as one.
Because, we've had people, pop into the forums and say, hey, I'm looking for missions that are funny. I want to find funny missions. Can you give me any recommendations?
Yep.
That's one I can think of.
The one I could think of that I didn't see was, I know it's not possible in the Foundry, but I know people still pull it off, is social maps, or just maps meant to go and walk around and stuff like that. I know people do it.
Yeah, people do it. I mean, obviously you can't have any more than 5 players on it, but I've definitely known some people that have created one.
I think that's the reason why they haven't done they didn't do a social map one, just because you can only have 5 to it, so it's like one of those loophole things, but people still do it. Because I remember a while ago, people were making even somebody in our fleet tried to do it. So people still do it. I don't know if there should be one or something like that. That was another one that popped into mind. But they do have a good variety. The 2 that I saw right off the bat that I was very happy to see was story and combat. So that's very good to see. So we can hopefully... There's no way to, though... did they say if there's a way? I haven't had a good look around yet to see if you can just search based on search tag.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You can filter your search results based on... You can do any of the tags that you check. You can do all of the tags that you check, or you can tell it to exclude certain tags from your search results.
That's cool. I like that. We just talked about it a bit on last week's show, how we were very happy to see this implemented. We did have a few worries that this was just player-based, just because of how the Foundry's been exploited by the player base before on the whole. So I'm on the fence to see how this works. I'm hoping it does, but there's always that part of me that's
unfortunately,
worried.
there's nothing to stop players from tagging things incorrectly.
Yeah. Are you guys finding yourself worried about that at all?
I'm not too worried.
No,
we'll kind of have
really.
to. It's a wait and see.
Yeah. That's kind of the boat.
I think for the most part, I think it'll be self-correcting.
Mm-hmm.
Because because the players who play the mission, hopefully only a few will do it. So the vast majority will tag them correctly.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Well, my thoughts.
I know you always get the few trolls. I'm just hoping it's not like massive, like the give the grinders 5 stars so they get all the way up, or the exploits and stuff like that. But I'm happy to see tags. That's a great step forward, and hopefully if they see that more is needed, they add a few more. But that's our Foundry news for this week. Unless I missed something, I've got 3 other Foundry authors here. Am I missing anything for the week?
Have you talked about Voth mobs that we're getting?
No, we have not touched
editing
on
is turned
that.
back on.
I don't think we've actually hit this at all. What do you know about the Voth mobs?
Well, they've been up on Tribble. We will have access to them as soon as Foundry editing comes back. They are ground and space. They're only the combat NPC groups. We don't have NPC contacts. The ships work pretty much as you might expect. The ground mobs, unfortunately, are a mixture of the regular humanoid Voth, the dinosaurs, and the mechs that all those you encounter on the ground battle zone. There's almost no way to tell which ones are going to spawn. I ran through a bunch of them and figured out at least a general idea of which ones are going to spawn, and I posted that up on Starbase UGC.
I'm curious to see how that works, because I could see if I wanted to put the Voth in one of my missions, that I might get a little irked to have like combat walkers or dinosaurs on like a ship interior per se, where it would be kind of weird to have that on there.
Well, they're small enough to fit through the cavernous interiors that Cryptic has given us.
Yeah. I feel like though
you can fly a shuttle. You can fly a shuttle through those things. You
That's
can get a little
true.
mech in there, right?
Yeah, the only probably interior that you could use that they wouldn't is maybe the Defiant or the Constitution.
That would be problematic.
Yeah, that's what
I can make it work.
Yeah. I don't know. I personally, if I was to make a mission, I feel like the walkers are best on the ground. And let me say, I love those walkers. I want a PvP map where you can like climb inside one of those walkers and shoot people, like in like Halo, I know does that or something like that, where you can just climb in a walker. I want that. So Cryptic, there you go. PvP advice from your friends at Foundry Files, the Foundry podcast. So Voth are getting added, so that's going to be cool. See, I hope they get the NPC stuff there. I think that's it. I think that's all our Foundry news for the week. This is the last chance. Anything else? No? All right. That means we've got an interview with 3 Foundry authors. I think it's the same people. We'll find out. I don't know. I'm just here to interview people.
I thought there was cookies.
Cookies?
Yeah, come
That's why
where's
I'm here.
our milk?
Who promised you
Cookies.
cookies?
It was Uwe.
I believe it was you.
I did not promise cookie. Now, I know we promised pie to people a while ago. I don't think he's fulfilled that promise because he's sleeping. But hopefully when he wakes up, there will be pie. So
Well, tell him he owes me pie.
I will let him know. Alright, so I'm sitting down here with the 3 of the authors of Purity, Drogan, Bazag, and Realm Time. Why don't you guys list off the part you guys authored, because I believe you each authored a part of the series.
I authored part 2 of Thought.
I, Roland Time, authored Purity 5 of Leadership.
And I'm Drogan, and I authored Purity 6 of Sacrifice.
Alright, so my first question for you guys is, did you realize there's a massive plot hole at the very end of this mission, where apparently my past starship had traveled through time, and was some reason at Earth at the end?
Yeah, I had
did.
the same.
I did actually.
Same time travel incident, because there's a Basilope there as well. So I'm not sure what happened there either.
Something was going on there, and I feel like there's something they're missing.
Well, I tell you, way back in the 20th century, actually the 21st century, this guy named Drogan. He put out a tweet that asked people, "Hey, I'm going to put a bunch of Federation ships in this mission. Anybody want their player ship in it?"
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
And
I think about it.
and that was you.
Oh,
you were one of the people who responded. So was Baz.
You see, I say a bunch of stuff, and usually it's when I'm either hyper on sugar or something like that, or I'm just crazy because I'm a crazy ginger. So I say things sometimes. I don't know what, but I say things.
That's all right. When I was writing the backstory for one of the characters, I used a ship, the USS Charlemagne, and when we were in testing and Casmodian went through and played the mission, he comes back to me and he says, "This is unacceptable, Drogan. Use the Charlemagne. That's my ship."
I didn't even notice.
I don't want this guy. I don't want this character to have been on my ship. He's a jerk. I don't like him.
I laughed too because I was fighting through that battle, and I saw an NPC was almost dead, so I was like, yeah, I'll be nice. I'll throw an NPC some heals for once, and then I realized it was my ship almost blowing up. I was like, oh.
You just healed yourself.
Oh. That's when I was like, what the? Why was I almost dead? What's going on here?
You're in a time loop. There will be a follow-up mission that will explain that.
Good. I didn't know if it was in the daily.
It's just for you.
Okay, good. All right. So now that plot hole has been dealt with, we'll see a continuation of it, so hopefully fix that up. How did this project get started between all of you? Like, how did you gather all these authors together for the project?
Well, most of us have been in the Starbase UGC chat channel, and I think it was it Cerberus Films who initially suggested the idea, and I think it just snowballed from there.
I know he had the idea like a really, really long time ago, and then he started organizing it with like Captain P.F. Dennis and Rogue Enterprise and those guys, and at a certain point they just started bringing in more and more authors, such as myself.
I remembered a while ago a project like this tried to take off, and I remember seeing it over at Starbase UGC. It was for, what was it? It was something with the Maquis, I think, or some rogue element. It might have actually been this, and it eventually spun off, but it was a year or two ago. So how long ago about was it when you guys started this?
Oh, I can't even remember. A good month.
I know. I
months.
came on the project in June, maybe. I think something like that.
Yeah, I
So
think we
about,
started
But
talking about it.
they'd been working on it for a
Like
while before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started actually talking about it back in May, and started actually, getting people into it, and start actual work in like June.
Yeah, I remember people talking about a super secret project way back then, and then I only found out what it was in June.
So how did writing for the series work on both as on a group and individual scale? Because that was something I was really interested in through playing this. Because I heard a few mixed things, so I want to get the official story on to how writing this came together. Since it was quite difficult to write a whole series, especially when you're splitting it up between multiple authors.
Well, essentially what we did is we had a story meeting where all the authors and everybody else in the project got together, and we all just sort of threw out story ideas. And then Captain P.F. Dennis took those story ideas, and used whichever ones he wanted and whatever combination he wanted, and wrote, essentially at that point it was 5 parts. And he wrote a treatment, an overall story treatment, and then he broke it into the 5 missions in about a 6 or 8 paragraph just summary of each mission. And then that was given to the authors, and then we ended up with 6 authors for 5 parts, so we wrote another part, which happened to be Bazag's part. Mm-hmm. And then that was essentially what we had to work with. It's like here's your part. This is the summary. Make sure it ends at the right place and begins at the right place, and everything in between is up to you. I mean, the actual dialogue of it is up to you.
So in each of these parts that an author was given, it usually included the key story points that needed to be hit at least within that part, and then they were allowed to flesh it out from there.
And characters and all that, and general setting. And then we sort of had everybody, I say sort of, had everybody outline their mission. And this is always a story I like to tell, because I in one of the meetings said, hey, we should have everybody make outlines of their mission.
What's an outline?
And post them. And then Valentine says, what's an outline? Which sort of highlights how different approach, or how many different approaches to authoring missions there are. I like to outline things. I like to know exactly where I'm going and exactly what maps I'm going to need before I even get into the mission. But not everybody is like that.
Yeah, and it's always interesting talking to different Foundry authors and how they author their own Foundry missions. Because I know when I first started out, I was in the outline boat, where I'd have to outline everything before it was done, and then write all the dialogue, and then boom, that's when I'd start officially working in the Foundry. And then they came out with this nice little thing called branching dialogue, which completely flipped the Foundry apart. And so from there on, I found that I did the outlines less and less, and then just focused on doing it into the Foundry, because I found it really hard to do branching dialogue writing outside of the Foundry. Did you guys practice with that at all outside the Foundry at all?
I do a little bit, because I like to write everything out in a word processor before I put it in the Foundry, and sometimes I'll put little tags on it so that I know that this is a branch. But it's not easy, and I think there's actually some programs out there that do it better than just your average word processor.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't know what their names are.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid to plug it.
Yes. Yeah. So I actually wrote it in the Foundry. So even in here, we each have our own different perspective with the story, our own mission, So I think, just like any other group of authors, we're all going to be different in the way we, interpret or approach it, even a different mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the nice thing about the Foundry is you can get so many different types of authors authoring content out there. I mean, that's why I'm very glad that we have now this tagging system that just got introduced, because before it was just the 5 to 1 star. What's this mean? Oh, I just enjoyed it or I didn't like it. Now we've at least got, this was a great story mission for people and stuff like that. So I'm very happy to see that coming in. But I went on a tangent there, so now I forgot what I was going to hit. Oh, I know what I was going to hit. So how did you guys then, so once you had the outlines done, did you go through each other's parts when they were getting finished up to make sure they all still fit together nice and neat?
Yeah, we kind of did that in the testing process.
Yeah, comprehensive testing process. Things are always going to get through any stage, and I think the feedback. A lot of good feedback from the player base as well. But yeah, we had at least like 2 weeks around usually where we tested each other's missions, authors and other. Project members joined in,
and there definitely were some continuity things that I noticed when I went back and played everybody else's missions during the process. That I then said, okay, yeah, I had better follow up on this in my mission, because I of course had the very ending mission.
Yeah, so you had to tie.
So I had to wrap everything up, or at least mostly. I mean, we wanted to leave a few things up in the air, because that's life, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's ever wrapped up in a nice neat bow in life. So that's kind of how I wanted to end it.
I know we talked about a
few ambiguous things.
Yeah, I know we talked about a lot on the last one, how it must have been, did you feel like you had a lot of pressure on you for doing the last part and having to wrap everything up that everybody had worked on?
Oh no, I volunteered for it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You didn't pick straws and get the short one?
No. Because I love big explosive finales. I love doing that.
They are quite enjoyable. I do love epic space battles. They are some of my favorite in the game, and this one did have it.
Oh yeah, I kind of looked on it as like an episode of 24.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody's familiar with that show, so it was like the last episode of a season of 24, which is everything taken up to 11.
I felt like each episode was that, because each episode had one of those type of cliffhangers. I will say for this series, there's a lot of series out there that either they will make their series, but each episode's kind of its own individual part that you can play on your own. I usually tend for that. And then you've got authors who will do the cliffhanger ending that will make you want to come back. Most of the 2-part Star Trek episodes do this. And you guys went absolutely crazy with your cliffhanger endings.
Yes, we did.
I think every part, yes, indeed, every part had some sort of cliffhanger ending. So
I think my cliffhanger
was... Go ahead, Baz.
Go, Drew. I think my cliffhanger was the craziest in terms of
that one was the craziest one, I think. There was another one that
well, I mean, it started off with the the bridge of a ship exploding around you, and it's like we're falling into the atmosphere, To be continued. Sets a tone for the whole thing.
There were a lot of great cliffhangers in this series, and I gotta give you guys props for that, because sometimes I can tell they don't really go off well, but I think a lot of these went off pretty well. But so whose idea was it to do cliffhangers at the end of every part? I think I have a feeling whose idea this might have been, or was this everybody's idea?
I'm not sure if I could pin it down to one person. It just seemed natural.
Oh, so
I think it did come up in discussion whether we wanted to do that sort of more a little bit more standalone or go for cliffhangers, and I think we essentially by consensus decided for cliffhangers.
I feel like I went to blame Green Dragoon there. I really he was taunting.
He was actually not involved in the project.
I know, but he was taunting me over Twitter. My gut feeling said that he somehow got to you guys because, of course, it was his cliffhanger, because he kept taunting me over Twitter about it.
His is an excellent example of a great cliffhanger. So
yeah, I'm still waiting for part 2.
Yeah, Green Dragoon, I know you're listening to this at some point in your life. I want that part done. I've been bugging you for 2 months now. Finish it up. That's an order. But anyway, this series had some of the best technical work I think we've seen on a whole throughout an entire arc made in the Foundry, and it topped a lot of missions out there already. So how did you guys go about doing these technical tricks, and how did you share this between each other, if you shared any tech stuff at all?
Pretty sure we all just we took the story and worked out ourselves what made sense. Because in the treatment for episode 2, Captain P.F. Dennis mentioned that there's just before the first building starts falling down around you, that there's some people who run and escape. So I took that and I think we all just used our individual knowledge of the Foundry to our experiences to create something rather great. Working with the story and our experiences. So
each of us has sort of different experiences and different tricks that we know that we kind of brought to each of our missions. And of course, one of the great things about the Foundry community is, if you don't know how to do something, you're stuck. You can just ask, and there's got to be somebody out there who knows how to do it or knows a workaround. Mm-hmm. So there's always that sort of knowledge sharing. We're always in the Starbase UGC chat room on the forums. We're always brainstorming things and figuring out tricks. People like Pendra and Captain P.F. Dennis, they're masters of triggers. They know all of that stuff, and there's great knowledge out there. But I'll tell you one thing that we did share. We shared some maps between.
Yeah, I was about
projects.
to ask that next. How did maps go with you guys?
I had 2 maps in mind that were built by other people. The first one was the Federation Council Chamber. Kirkfat actually built that a long time ago, before this project even started. He was showing us pictures of it, and then when we started going, I was looking at the plot, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Like the finale of this, or at least part of the finale, needs to take place like in the heart of the Federation government. So it's like the council chambers, and it's like, Kirkfat, I know you've got a great one. Can you put it in a spreadsheet and give it to me and give me the coordinates? And so you did. The other one was the top of the Eiffel Tower. Was built by Cerberus Films, who I believe has actually been there. I have not been there. I have not been there, so I could not tell you how accurate it was or not. I think Wee Wee was commenting on it, wasn't he?
Yeah, we both were like really impressed. Like I did not. The 2 things we did not expect is there's a part during the series. This is a store spoily, so I'm not spoiling anything here. There's a part where you go to the president's office, and at first, when we knew we were going there, we're like, oh, you're going to be in some boring boxed up room because nobody can make the awesome backdrop that is supposed to be Paris. Boy, were we wrong. And then I did not expect to go up to the Eiffel Tower. at all in that last part. Like I was like, oh my god, we're actually going there.
And that's sort of the feeling we were going for.
And then the so maps were shared. Was each author responsible for like some of the technical tricks? Like I know in Bazag, some of the things I was really impressed with was definitely the collapsing building that was catching on fire and stuff like that. So was any of that shared, or was that all like up to the individual author at that point?
It was mostly, I think, individual author. I think some of the stuff when we play, you'd provide feedback and say, maybe, what about this? But yeah, for the most part, maps and the technical tricks were mostly up to the individual author.
Yeah, I say like once Kirkfat and Cerberus Films gave me the object list and the coordinates for the maps. After that, it was up to me to, place NPCs, figuring out what triggers I needed to do, because obviously I had, lots of explosions on those maps and lots of fighting. So, I needed to figure out for myself how to do that. Which, doing that on somebody else's map can be a little difficult sometimes. Because, I mean, you're when you build your own map, these very complicated custom builds with hundreds and hundreds of objects, you know where everything is because you put it there. If I'm just looking at it off a spreadsheet, once I'm done, I'm not entirely sure where everything is just to click on. So it was trial and error to find the exact right object to trigger to disappear or appear, unless I had put it there myself. So there were some challenges in sharing maps, but I mean most of the technical aspects and the tricks that you're talking about, we kind of did ourselves, each individual author.
I borrowed some ideas from other Foundry shows.
Oh yeah, we all steal ideas from each other. That's for
that is the Foundry right there, everybody.
The Foundry is based on plagiarism.
I
say anybody out there who's listening, please steal my ideas.
Yeah, I think every Foundry author is like that. At least with technical wise, it seems like once a Foundry author discovers something tech, they're like, everybody, if you like this, go use it. I've never heard an author go, you can't use that. That's my tech trick.
I like to see people's ideas.
That's true. Cryptic technically owns everything made in the Foundry, so.
Yeah, I like
one of the
to
best
improve on people's ideas. So
one of the best examples of people taking a technical trick and just running with it was the warp stars. Transferring map systems within the same space map, and I think there
was a time that nobody did that.
It's hard.
I wonder who the first person to come up with it was. I have no idea.
So if you want to take credit for it, start fighting for it, people. Because that's like one of those things where you think about. There are several technical things in the Foundry that nowadays you go, oh yeah, at one point we did not have this. Wow, but that must have sucked back then.
Yeah, you mentioned branching dialogue earlier.
Yeah.
I remember back to those days when all dialogues were just a straight line.
Yeah.
That was all we had.
And the day, if we get that day, where branching objectives come in, and then we look back upon when we did not have that, we're all going to be like, oh, wow, how did we do this? Because I know there are quite a few missions out there that would love branching objectives right now. And those are always nice to see when somebody tries to do a nice little workaround for those.
Yeah, faking it is tough.
Yeah. I don't think I have had the skill set to do that. In fact, I think I usually stick to the branching dialogue. I don't think I've done multipathed or alternate ending systems. That is something very difficult to pull off in the Foundry.
I've done it once.
I think I faked it pretty well myself. In one
there's some you can definitely fake it. And I know this series did a good job of definitely at certain parts giving a good variety of branching dialogue. And it's if this had been done as a Cleon series or any Cleon series out there, that's like I cannot imagine a Cleon mission without branching dialogue. And that's just my personal taste because of how you've got so many different races intermixed and stuff with the Cleon Empire. That's like you almost need branching dialogue at that point to get something that fits.
Yeah, you can sort of expect Starfleet officers to act like Starfleet officers, But when you're on the KDF side, you've got Klingons and Orions and Nausicaans and Gorn. They're all going to act very differently.
Don't forget Lethians.
Yep.
And Lethians.
See, yeah, that is the nice part. Like, I know with several Federation Foundry missions, there's been a few problems that have popped up where my Starfleet captain will say something and I'll kind of be like, oh, that didn't really fit. But it's nothing like the KDF side where I'll be like, I'm playing an alien that's not a Klingon, and this doesn't make sense for me to say. That's always been something that's bugged me about the Klingon side.
Well, I know branching dialogue was one of the things that you commented on when you were talking about my mission, because it was such a shift from Realm Time's mission where you had a lot of options to mine where, honestly, you did not have a lot of options. And that's sort of one of the things about how we did this is we sort of played to our own strengths. Branching dialogue is obviously, and providing the captain with options is obviously something that Realm Time does very well, and quite honestly is something that I don't do very well.
Oh, yeah.
So there is that shift between missions.
Yeah, I've noticed. I did not do a lot of branching dialogue in my own missions until the last mission series I made. That one I discovered through playing so many other people's Foundry missions that I tended to really like it when they gave a lot of branching dialogue options. Like, I think it was the Overture series. Is that what it was? By Kinetic Impulsor. Yeah, that's what I believe it was. It was that series that I had played through, and I believe like every dialogue box had like 3 options for you to pick from. Yeah, so you got the illusion that even though you had three dialogue options, that there was a choice and you might get a different outcome, and sometimes you did. So I tried to do that as best I could in my own, and I definitely recommend to Foundry authors, if you are authoring something, do try to throw in branching dialogue where you can, even if it's something very simple and different, because there are players like myself who really do enjoy stuff like that. But so through making this series, was there any focus for you guys? Like, because I know on Foundry Files we break it up into story, technical, and gameplay. Was there any focus that you guys were like, oh, we really need to have really good like gameplay or something like that? Well, was there any focus there, or what was your idea just behind creating this series like that?
I think
For
we
me,
kind
I
of
think-
wanted. Oh, go ahead, Bess.
Yeah, I think for me, I think this focus was really on the story. We wanted to, tell this story and how the massive amounts of wars that are going on within the Federation between the Klingons, between Breen, between list any species that exist in the game, and we're basically at war with them.
Even those Davidians.
And, Davidians. And I think we wanted to tell a story about how that, could change the Federation. How is the Federation still the Federation? Type sort of thing.
That was the one thing I think that really drew me into this series. Like, the one thing I will say is, like, plot is something I really focus on, just as a player myself. Because, like, for example, the recent feature episode series, I loved the plot of that story so much. I loved it. And then I looked at everything else and went, oh, it's kind of basic and bare everywhere else. But the story for that was so great. And the one thing I really liked about this series was a lot of the missions that we tend to play don't really have like the huge moral stuff going on, or it's just like the simple stuff. Like for example, like Cryptic's original Cleon missions, the 20 arc or whatever that was. It was a lot of simple little stories that led up to what did become a quite an epic ending. But with this series, you had this big moral dilemma going on, which I really did enjoy, and that definitely brought back like the classic Star Trek feel. And was that like one of your how did you guys, this is a good question here, how did you guys come up with the overall story together in the meeting? Like, what were some ideas that were pitched out before this? Do you happen to know?
Well, there were definitely 2 big ideas that were thrown out. We wanted to get a little bit into the exploring strange new worlds, and that's how we got out to the Megara area. And then I think I pitched in, this is an idea that I'd had for a long time and just never got around to doing, was kind of explaining why the Federation is like it is in the Stowe time period, where it's, maybe a little bit less utopian, it's a little more militaristic, and sort of explaining why that is. And maybe allowing the player to help it become back what it's supposed to be.
I have,
and so we
I've
sort of
that.
combine those two things.
I know, like, so I've been going through all the missions in Stowe, including Foundry ones, where I've been writing captain's logs to go along with it. Because before I played Stowe, my captain was a fanfiction character right before. So I was like, you know what, I'm playing Stowe, might as well just say these are the continuations of his story. So it's been a unique way to write, because my fanfiction took place 10 years before the Federation War. And to have this massive transition where we're on multiple front wars, this series did a great job of focusing in on how that affects people, especially in, it was part 4 where you go to that planet. And there's a lot of people who are anti-Federation because of this. And you think about it and you go, yeah, we're on a multiple front war here. You got to think of how many people are dying because of this and how many worlds are being affected. And you wonder.
And the public perception of the Federation, is it the same as it used to be?
Yeah, and you guys did a great job with the trailers that came out with this. I really liked it because it was like news media around this stuff, and I found that quite interesting because this delves a little bit into the politics behind like the Federation and stuff like that and what's going on. And it got me thinking about what's going on with the Federation and Starfleet now. Because really, they weren't exploration focused as the series started out. They said, "Oh, we're just sending a few captains out to explore now." And even I had made reference in a couple of the missions that my captain was like, "What happened to the good old days where we explored? Now I'm just out fighting everybody." And it's an interesting topic to cover in this series. And I've seen it. A few other authors hit it as well. Like the Forever Reaction series did a great job of hitting that, where you've got the Federation kind of going, this isn't what we set out to do, what's going on? And I thought that was really interesting to explore. So that's one of the reasons I always say to people, if something's got a good moral backdrop to it, like a good moral dilemma, I always like to recommend that story out. So this one definitely had it there. So how did you guys get this series spotlighted by Cryptic?
Thanks Cerberus Films for that. Reached out to Brown Flakes and had a discussion with them about what we wanted to do, and that we wanted to be a community based thing. Mm-hmm. And I think Brown Flakes just responded quite well with that, and sort of lined up with what he wants to do as our community manager.
So, in what ways did you find the spotlight helped and or might have hurt the series in any way?
Well, it certainly helped with visibility. I mean, I had a couple hundred plays within 24 hours of being spotlighted, so it obviously helps with visibility. Where it hurts is that there's sometimes a public perception that a spotlight author is getting preferential treatment or things like that. When it's a very simple thing. It's just Serb came up with this plan, got us all involved, and then pitched it to Brandflakes, and Brandflakes went for it. Seems like like any group could have done that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never found it like it's a bad thing for an author to get spotlighted. Like, I don't go, oh, that author got spotlighted, screw them. They get more plays than me now because they're spotlighted. That I feel like that's a whole different issue. That's not like the author's fault.
I have heard people express sentiments like that. That the spotlights are taking plays away from other missions, and I think our hope was with this to bring in players. Because it's spotlighted, because it was put on the main page, because it was promoted, helped promoted by Brandflakes, that maybe it would bring in some players who had never tried the Foundry before, and hopefully get them to delve more into it and play other missions that aren't spotlighted.
Yeah, I definitely think like just because of the way the search is set up, I don't feel the spotlight missions are hurting the other ones. I feel that was a whole different issue there, just because of how the search was set up, but. Yeah, and the cool thing was I really did like seeing that this was put on like the Star Trek Online website and the StarTrek.com and everywhere this was getting posted. So, and already this was giving eyes to the Foundry and what it was, and I really did like that, especially as we don't see featured episodes that much from Cryptic anymore. We see one or two a year, and this was something that honestly I was like, what else was going on at the time? Oh, we had CE. I was like
That was about it. Yeah, it was CE, and then just the run up to season 8 here.
the only thing I wish Cryptic would have done was to spotlight this in game better. That was what I really would have loved to see, was where there was like an in-game banner of something like Purity Series. I think that would have just like been the greatest thing ever. And I don't know why Brandon said they can't do that. I don't know why. It kind of made me sad. I really would have liked that. But so one of the things we been hearing a lot from you guys is your goal of doing this sort of project was, one, just so that it could be done, because I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, the Foundry's in such a way that you can't really do anything collaborative. Well, seeing this 6-part series that did pretty well, it shows that it works and you can get a project like this out the door. So
there's no tools for it, but it can be done.
Yep. And that's what you guys proved with the series, and I think you did a great job showing that to people. But what recommendations would you have for people who might want to work on a collaborative series in the future?
Well, one of the things that I've heard suggested is have a private forum somewhere, where you can leave information for people, post things, post script excerpts, things like that, things for people to look at. We used Dropbox to put files in, but you can't really leave messages for people on that. Because communication is really key.
Yeah. Communication, way to share, files and other, information that people can just grab at their convenience, and just feedback for what each player is doing, keeping up on how things are progressing with the others, providing feedback, and just keeping up on each other and assisting where you can.
One of the great things we had is we had Rogue Enterprise as our project coordinator. He didn't necessarily make decisions. He didn't want to. But what he did was sort of keep us on task. He organized weekly meetings. He worked out the calendar for us. Obviously, Realm Time didn't go to any meetings because he's a slacker. But
the Army taught me well, man.
It's just you need somebody there to crack the whip a little bit and make sure people are meeting their deadlines.
Yeah.
Another recommendation I'd have is have a very large team. We ran into a thing where we had one author who was going to do a mission, and real life stuff came up, as we all know it does, and he had to step out. And we luckily had a large enough team that someone is able to step in and do that mission. So you want to make sure that you've got enough authors involved, even if some of them aren't going to make missions, where if you have an emergency, somebody can't do something, another person can step in.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, because I think most Foundry authors think, oh, I'm just making a Foundry mission, I got all the time in the world. You guys were on a deadline, from what I understand, with your series, because it had to be spotlighted at certain times.
Yeah, we had to have it done and ready to publish on the Sunday before it was going to be spotlighted. So we published it then, and then submitted for publishing Monday, something like that. And then it was actually spotlighted the Tuesday. And so, working backwards from that, we had essentially a week to fine-tune and do any last-minute stuff needed to be done. The week before that was everyone was supposed to play the mission. Everybody in the team was supposed to play the mission, test it, leave any feedback that needed to be left. And then so each of our separate authors was working on that time frame. So, we all had to each have our mission done 2 weeks before it was supposed to be spotlighted. Obviously, if someone else was going to do a project like this, they could certainly set a longer time limit. I would say don't do any shorter than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't no. That's bad because I had to rewrite my ending 3 times and pull out a whole map online, and I was, I finished it on the Sunday it was supposed to be published. Trying to rewrite dialogue, move stuff around, rewrite the ending, try to get it just the right way it was supposed to.
And I think Captain P.F. Dennis, who was the guy who stepped in midway through the process, had about, 3 or 4 weeks to build his mission. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was working from some maps that the previous author had made and had given him spreadsheets for, but still, that's not a lot of time.
Especially when you're going high on the tech. 'Cause I know, for at least my missions, when I usually focus just on story and the gameplay aspects, it doesn't take too long. But when you start doing fancy tech stuff like this series did across the board, that takes a while to set that stuff up. Especially the maps.
And most of us, we have lives outside of the Foundry, of course. It's just a hobby. So, we have jobs and school and who knows what.
Unless Cryptic would like to hire a few of us, we still are waiting. Especially maybe a certain podcast host who might time travel in his spare time.
Never got it.
What? Oh. So these are 2 questions we threw in here at the end. I feel I should still ask them even though he's fast asleep. So his question was, and of course I know you guys heard this all, where he was all kind of, I wanted a Cleon series. But he wanted to know if you guys are planning to do anything for a KDF multi-part feature episode series.
Well, I don't know that we're necessarily planning one, but I have heard rumblings.
I have heard them too.
Of one as well, possibly by the Gates of Stovokor guys. I think if anyone were to do one, I'd love it to be them.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, whoever does the next one, I'm more than willing to help, but I don't want to be one of the mission authors.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be different names on it than
the
6 names that were on these. But I'd certainly love to help out in any other capacity.
I know, I think it was right after we had finished part 6 or whatever, and I made the joke comment that me and we should make a collaborative series, and then immediately he came up with an idea, and it's now like, oh my gosh, we gotta make this! And of course it was KDF, and I think we're planning on like 2 parts if we ever actually do sit down to work on this. But I will say to people out there, if you plan to make one, definitely I think look at KDF. I think it would be great to get a KDF one out there, especially given we have very few awesome KDF missions out there, especially when compared to Fed. But when you get an awesome KDF mission out there, boy, is it awesome. I mean, like, we played through, what was it? There was, like, Rogue Enterprises, Cleon mission I really was impressed with, stuff like that.
Hero of the Empire, yeah.
Hero of the Empire. That one gets a lot of praise.
I really did
Absolutely.
like that. And the other one, if this happens, when we get Romulan missions, oh my God, if we could get a Romulan creative project, that's the one I also want to jump on, because I want to author some Romulan missions, and that would be very cool to see. But that's all the questions I've got for you guys, except for the last one, since you guys offered to help other people out. Where can people get in contact with you if they may have questions if they're working on their own Foundry series?
Well, they can drop by the official Star Trek forums. There's a whole Foundry section. A lot of us peruse those posts there and post a lot. Alternatively, they can go to starbaseugc.com.
Yeah, we've got a chat channel there, so I'm a fairly regular contributor to the chat channel. So
there's almost always somebody in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if we're not talking, there's someone still there watching.
We're always watching.
Waiting. We're watching people. And then, so if you guys would like to send Foundry missions in for Foundry Files to review, you can do that at foundryfiles@gmail.com. That is an email address for those of you who do not know. You can go.
What's the email?
It's this thing that was invented, I think, a year ago or something like that. My magic wizard Pablo didn't make it, but somebody else.
It wasn't Al Gore. I thought Al Gore made it.
No, it was the NSA. Oh, wait, this isn't a political podcast. But also, Foundry Files is not the only one you can send it into. We've got 2 other podcast hosts here. So if people want to also send their missions to you, where can they do that?
Well, they can send it to me at use Twitter. Send me a in-game message at Bazag, or leave a comment at bazagstabs.com.
And watch out, because he gets a little
Yes,
excited when stabbing comes involved. In fact, it gets
I have many war wounds to prove it.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd like a review by the Non-Violent Podcast, you can send your missions to foundryroundtable@live.com.
And there you go. So there's a lot of different avenues you guys can get your missions reviewed on. So go to it, and also do listen to them all, because if you're looking for Foundry missions, it is, as far as I know, still quite difficult to find them. All these podcasts right here and many more out there, because there are so many people who just love the Foundry, are out there to help you find some pretty good missions. But that's it. You can download us on iTunes. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That lets us know how many people we get on a regular basis and stuff like that. Also, be sure to catch the latest episode of Lockbox Files that probably aired before this, or shortly after if I did not get that out yet. If you like your lockboxes as much as I do, you can check that out there. You guys like lockboxes, right?
No,
I love them.
No. How could you
I
not
can't
love
get
them?
enough.
Everybody loves...
because it cost me money, and I'm broke student, so I can't afford nothing.
Oh, well, you could do what we did with one of our fleet members. He couldn't get into Stowe this week because of the Mac thing screwing up on him. So we gave him an imaginary lockbox to open, and he actually got some very good goodies in that, where I think imaginary lockboxes might be the way to go. You get some good stuff in those.
I want an imaginary Tholian recluse.
Oh, yeah.
I want an imaginary Gowler class.
I would like an imaginary playable Dominion race. But if that could become real, that'd be sweet. But anyway, that is this week's episode of Foundry Files. We may be on next week. We don't know yet. If the Foundry missions are up, I might see about us doing an episode then. But if Foundry missions aren't back up, we will probably be off that week. And then, of course, the next week is Thanksgiving, which I'll be eating food and hanging with family. So I can't do a show. But afterwards, it's Cleon month. So send your Cleon missions in, because we like Cleons here. Anyway, I'd like to thank all the people here who came on to interview for the Purity series. So thanks, guys, for coming on. And
Thank you for having us.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
And we'll catch you all next week or 3 weeks. It's either gonna be next week or 3 weeks. But yeah, bye, goodbye. Nice seeing you. Thanks for visiting. Don't forget to write.
Bye-bye.
Okay, you can put the knife away, Bazag.
Yeah. Rah.